So, tell us about the 2025 hunting season.
So, before we start, I'd really just like to say thank you to all of our clients that supported us this year. All the guys from last year, all of our repeat clients that come through every single year, all the new guys as well, and hopefully some of the new repeat clients that we have. A lot of the guys have made bookings for the 2026 hunting season, and we're obviously super excited. We're starting to get all of our stuff ready already, a couple of changes here and there. So yeah, hopefully 2026 season will be just as good as this one was for us.
So, what highlights can you share with us that you enjoyed this year?
So this year for me, if I really start to think back, this year for me has been a year of first-time hunters. From our first hunt to our last hunt, we had first-time hunters. Our last 3 hunts were all first-time hunters this year, and it's always such an incredible opportunity to be able to enjoy that kind of, hunt with somebody. The pride coming from a father, the joy from their son or daughter, it's always something special to witness. So some of my highlights from this year must absolutely be from some of the kids. So one of the hunts that we had this year was actually quite recent. A lighty came in, obviously being at school, he could only come through on the Friday afternoon. So we only really had 1 day's worth of hunting. They came through on the Friday afternoon. We went out to the range, child shot really, really, really well. And yeah, it was late in the afternoon and we didn't want to push it. So we kind of just said goodnight and we decided to go out on the Saturday morning. So the Saturday morning came, usual routine, have a cup of coffee with the clients, kind of figure out what's happening during the day. And we were chatting with the little guy and, he kept saying to me that he either wants a nice wildebeest or an impala or a blessbuck, So I kind of had a spot on the property that we knew that we could kind of get all 3 of them, hopefully. So we get all set up, put my binos on, grab the shooting sticks. David was with us as well, take the dad and the mom with too. And we started walking, but what had happened was that the lighty had come with a small caliber rifle and his dad had brought a slightly bigger one. So the lighty had a 243. I mean, the thing was just as long as what he was. So I don't know how we were planning on carrying that thing the whole day, but nonetheless, and a 308. And I'd noticed just as we were leaving that only the lighty had brought out that 243. And I'd said to the dad, you know what, let's rather just take the 308 with us just in case that wildebeest comes out, and gives us an opportunity. So we loaded up that 308. We went out as well and we stopped on a spot on the farm and kind of just had a bit of a sun up, took a bit of a break, figured out what we wanted to do, and true as nuts, just as the sun broke, these wildebeest walked out into the road in front of us. They were probably a couple 100 meters down, so at least it kind of gave us an opportunity to slowly make our way in there, right, take it nice and easy and get him set up. And yeah, got him set up, snuck just around that bush, got the lighty set up, got everybody ready. Dad took a couple of videos as well. And yeah, the lighty put an incredible shot. And for me, the most amazing thing was when that lighty turned around and looked at me, right? I genuinely thought the both of us were going to break out in tears. He was laughing and crying and, it really was one of those special moments for us. The joy in the mom's face as well was just absolutely mind-blowing.
That's great. Any other stories that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, so we also had one this year. It was an early season hunt for us. It was a couple of our repeat clients as well, but being in the early season and having so much rain this year, surprisingly enough, we had a massive storm come through and it was thunder and lightning and it was absolutely crazy. One of those typical bushveld storms. And we had gone out that afternoon hoping to try and get some impala, and we got to a certain spot on the farm where we kind of stopped and were overlooking a small little pan, with obviously all the rain. There was some new pans on the farm, not just the usual places. So we kind of just stopped off and thought, what, let's sit here for a little while and kind of see what happens. And slowly but surely we watched that thunderstorm get closer and closer, and the wind got worse and the lightning was starting to crack. And no, it was absolutely insane. And just as I pulled out my phone, I was just about to make the phone call to be like, no, please come and fetch us. And I looked past this tree and these 3 impala females were heading down towards this pan. And what's nice kind of about the pan is that it's a nice little open area. So you can see them coming from quite a while off. And these impala made their way in, and we decided to take, the one furthest left. It gave us the best opportunity. Shot went off, dropped, but just as that shot went off, that thunder rumbled through, wah, right? And it was crazy because it completely muffled the sound of the rifle. The second Impala, even though that other one had dropped, just carried on drinking. So we reloaded, right, and shot the second one as well. The issue that we had is that when he made that shot, the Impala kind of jumped off and ran and stopped, and I wasn't 100% committed to if that shot was a good one or not. So I said to him, just shoot it again, just out of, it's the thunder's coming, the rain is coming, just have a little bit of caution. I thought, let's just shoot it again and see. So he made a good shot again. Impala dropped right there, and the second or the third one actually ran off. When that third one ran off, it stopped behind a tree, and we kind of had a chat about it, because being in that situation, the adrenaline's flowing, your heart's thumping in your ears, and it's a tough one. And we had a bit of a chat and said, listen, man, if that one comes out, do you want to do a third one as well? Right? And I said to him, you're just going to have to take your time. You're going to have to take it slow. If it's a bad shot, let's rather leave it. Impala walked out, and I think for me, it's the worst noise I could possibly hear is the click. Right? And I couldn't believe it. I just absolutely couldn't believe it. We opened the bolt to find out that he had only put 3 rounds in. And because we had put that second shot on that other Impala, we didn't have the extra round. So now we're sitting, fumbling, trying to get another bullet back into that gun, right? And trying to get a shot off. And yeah, unfortunately, that other Impala decided, no more, right? It was tired of us, tired of all that thunder and wind. And yeah, it was quite an interesting one. The next morning with the same client, right? Same thing, just a little bit of luck and a little bit of really good shooting. We had struggled a little bit early in the morning. We had bumped a couple animals. We didn't want to put too much pressure on them. We wanted to kind of have the girls that were hunting with us have better opportunities. So we were focused more on trying to shoot smaller stuff like Impala and warthogs and whatnot. And we managed to get 2 nice warthogs early in the morning. And we were kind of taking a walk down one of the long straight roads. And I mean, it was myself, the client, and David. And we're all just walking down. And all of a sudden, this Impala walked into the road, but was looking away from us. So we thought, this is an incredible opportunity. Put out the shooting sticks, made the shot. She dropped right there, really good shot. And we're kind of all high-fiving and laughing and just kind of enjoying the moment and a little bit of that camaraderie and whatnot. And as we got up to her, we looked past her, and true as nuts, there was another one standing there. And we were able to double up twice in 2 days. So it's not something that often happens with us, right? And yeah, it's something that kind of sticks in the back of your mind, as one of the moments of the year.
Wow, that's an incredible story. Absolutely great memories to be made. Is there any other stories that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so we had another youngster come through this year. He didn't come with his parents though. His parents stayed at home, so he came with a friend and his father and their side of the family and whatnot. And it was quite a tough hunt for us. It was a little bit deep into the year, and yeah, it wasn't the easiest hunt we've ever had, but we're actually quite lucky to have concession next door to us here, and we hadn't really done too much that side. And the youngster really, really wanted an Impala, like really, really badly. And he kind of sat down and watched his friends shoot blessbuck and warthog and all the rest. And his turn kind of came up, and he came to me and said, I really want an Impala. So what's nice about one of the concessions that we have is that we've got this really, really high stand that overlooks this massive open area. And that morning we had gone out early in the morning on our side, and we'd kind of bumped a couple animals and decided, no, let's rather go to the concession and try and focus on this youngster and try to get something for him. So we got into that high stand, and we're sitting up top there. We saw a couple kudu, 1 or 2 blessbuck, a steenbokkie as well. But we were really focused on trying to get an Impala for him. And we kind of looked out into the distance and saw 1 or 2 Impala, but with it being so far, it's really difficult to commit and start walking, if you don't know what they're up to. And probably about an hour into it, a group of about 4 or 5 Impala came out. All rams, all really nice ones. And I really wanted to find a special one for him. So quick, David and I jumped out of that hide with him, and we covered that ground quite nice and quickly. And yeah, it was quite a situation. We got ourselves into position, but as we got into position, the tree we had marked where we had last seen them, all of a sudden these Impala were gone, just completely vanished off the face of the earth. We stood there for about 20 minutes or so looking, and we could kind of see something was there. So I said, let's just try and play the patient card. But asking a first-time hunter to be patient is incredibly, incredibly difficult. So I try to get him composed, try to get him calm, but I think that the moment just really got the better of him. And when those impala rams came out, I said to him, he must take the last one because it was the nicer one of the four of them. And yeah, when the shot went off, it just went right over the top of them, right? And we both kind of just stood there stunned, right? Because we really thought that we were going to, with the opportunity, they didn't know we were there. We had all the time in the world. And yeah, unfortunately, it just really caught us a little unaware. With us, though, right, especially when you're dealing with children, you kind of need to keep that smile on your face. Keep them pushing, keep trying to inspire them a little more, keep their confidence up. But this drive home was incredibly tough. That couple kilometer drive felt like we had driven all the way down to Cape Town. He was kicking himself. He was angry with himself. He was sad. He just couldn't believe it. And we had decided to come back for lunch, and we wanted to go out that afternoon. And just as we drove past one of the waterholes on the property, I thought, you know what? Let me just take him. Just me, just him. Let me go and have a chat with him and try to get him right and see what'll happen. And about a week or so before at this waterhole, I had seen two old female impala that he'd come in. But you know what? It's a week ago. I wasn't 100% committed to whether, if it was actually even going to work, right? If they were going to come, or were we going to be covered with nyala and wildebeest, things that weren't really on his list. And we've probably been sitting there for about an hour or so. It was about 1:45, and obviously now he's starting to get a little hungry. We're thirsty. We don't have any water or anything. And I just said to him, let's just wait until 1 o'clock, right? Let's just sit until 1. It's 20 minutes. Let's see what happens. I don't even think the words were out of my mouth. And I kind of looked off to the one hole or the one window that we have, and I kind of saw something underneath that bush. But I was a little nervous to tell him, right, like, listen, I can see something coming, right? I would rather have him spend less time freaking out this time, because last time we had way too much time, and I think he got into his head. So I would rather have had it quickly. There's the rifle, there's the sticks, let's go. So I waited until I kind of knew what we were after. I was still trying to debate what I was actually looking at with all the movement. Behind all the thick trees, it was tough. And yeah, suddenly, all of a sudden, this impala walked out. So I got him set up on that window, right, and I showed him where the impala was, and he picked it out quite quickly, which is nice, and we were sitting there focused on it, and we were waiting and waiting. I said to him, listen, if it comes out to the right of the bush, we're good. If it comes out to the left of the bush, we're just as good. True nuts, as always, the animal turned 180 degrees and went straight away from us, right? And I could literally watch the gun sigh, right? His heart, everything, the whole gun went down, his whole body just went down, and I was absolutely, absolutely broken, right? And I really, really, really felt bad for him. Then as I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this lighty, right, and I'm sitting there like thinking, like, what am I going to do now? Like, what can I possibly do? Because his confidence is completely rocked. He's completely, completely broken. And that's where, it becomes really, really tough when it comes to children. And all of a sudden his head pops up, just like a meerkat, right? And he goes, Matthew, what about that one? And I stuck my head around the corner, and true as nuts, that second impala had obviously swung around and was following the other one from the other side. We managed to stop her. He put an incredible shot on her, and from there, it's one of the funniest things. I love to see it when it comes to people shooting their first animal. It's when that bolt buckle shakes so much on the rifle, you can hear it going, kara, 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 kara. That buck fever is just incredible. He got out that hide, and for that 80 meters that we walked, every meter he's like, are you sure it's down? Are you sure it's down? Are you sure it's down? I turned around to him, and his face was bright, bright red. I really thought that he was going to break down crying. And now I have to try and phone Tammy, right, to try and get everybody to come. And with everybody there, watching the pride of that lighty tell everybody the story and how hot it was and how brave he was. And then, right, we obviously have to phone his mom and his dad, right? And that for me was one of the most difficult phone calls, right, to hold myself together. Him sitting there and listening to his mom scream through the phone at how proud she was. I was finished. I dropped them off. I went home, and yeah, I was completely emotionally wrecked after that one. And then we went out for the afternoon session, right, as we normally do, right? Obviously, with us shooting that animal at 1, and he hadn't really had time to eat, I said to him, well, why don't we kind of go out at 4 o'clock and we can see what we can try and do. And we kind of parked the truck off in the parking lot, and I don't even think I made it around to the front of the vehicle. And he comes running up to me with a big smile on his face. And he says to me, Matthew, Dad says I can do another one, right? And I was like, shup, here we go, right? Put my banners on, grabbed my shooting sticks, and there we went. So we went out. It was a hot afternoon. It was a little bit difficult. We were kind of just chatting and talking about shot placement and, what he does in school and, just catching up with kids, just talking nonsense. And we were kind of just talking, and I kind of looked past him and I saw something in that long grass. Now, like I said, with all the rain this year, that grass is long, 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 long. And I kind of just thought, is it something? Isn't it something? So we had built a small bench, right, for people to sit on. So I climbed on top of this bench to try and get a vantage point, and there was one lone female impala had come out into that big open area. And I was like, shup, no problem. We made a quick stalk in. It was probably about 400 or 500 meters from us. Made a quick stalk in, 80-meter shot, and yeah, he phoned his mom again, and it all happened again. But this time I had to deal with it, because this time he gave me the phone and said, my mom doesn't believe that I've shot another one, right? Please tell her. So now I'm trying to explain to her what's happened. She's screaming on the phone, right? The dad is shouting, right? It was just absolute chaos. When we finally got everything together, the other guys had joined us. We took a couple of nice photos, and yeah, it was a really, really good one for us. It really was a nice one. And we really are looking forward to having these guys back next year as well.
Wow, that's incredible. So, tell us about the last hunt that happened.
Yeah, so this one was something that we weren't quite expecting for this year. These guys that came back as our last hunt also came as our third hunt for the year. But being predominantly bow hunters and being a very wet year, it was very, very difficult for this youngster to actually get some animals. They had seen some stuff, nothing really came into range. He missed a warthog on the last afternoon, and yeah, it was a difficult one for them. But they kind of understood because they brought a rifle with them. We quickly went out on the Sunday morning, right? They left quite late in the afternoon. So we thought, let's just go out for a morning session and see. And we were able to pick up a wildebeest and a couple impala, and we were super happy. When they left, right, as we were finally doing like the last payments and saying goodbye and whatnot, they rebooked for the end of the year this year. They really wanted another opportunity to come back. And I thought, well, will be our opportunity to at least kind of redeem ourselves, right, and to get that animal that he wanted so badly. So they managed to come in that last weekend in August. Being school time, they were only able to come in late Friday afternoon. And yeah, so it gave us the Saturday and the Sunday morning to go out and hunt. So Saturday morning obviously came, everybody jumps into the bow hides as they always do. And yeah, so Dad went and sat with the youngster, his dad, and the uncle. And, sitting at home, I'm really chomping at the bit because I know what it means to this lighty. I know he's been saving his own money, right? He went from the first hunt to being able to only shoot 2 impala to now considering a wildebeest as well, right? And obviously we're sitting there like, come on, this has got to happen for us, right? We had been feeding constantly. We had been working hard at trying to get animals in. We had cameras up. We had given everything to this lighty. And the impala came in, right, as they always do, at 10, 11 o'clock, as they always did, and we thought, yep, here we go. This is the opportunity we've been waiting for. And unfortunately, the youngster got his yardage wrong, right? They thought it was a little bit closer, right? It was a bit further, and yeah, he shot right underneath it. Then the impala kind of scurried off, but they kind of just stayed in the background for a while. And they slowly inched forward and inched forward and inched forward, and they were coming. And obviously that just builds up even more tension, right? So now he's missed and he feels bad, right? It's the second miss he's had. So the first hunt, and then this one. And it was incredibly difficult for him to do. And then just as those impala were about to settle and come in, the wind unfortunately changed and they all busted out of there crazy. So we kind of called it for the morning, and I went up to him and I said, listen, why don't we try and take the rifle this afternoon, right? And he said to me, no, he was going to ask me anyway if this would be okay and if this is something that we would allow to happen. And I said, absolutely. Let's go to the range. Let's make sure that you're comfortable and that you know what you're up to, and then we can go. So not a problem. We went to the range, got everything sorted. The guys went and climbed into the hide. And I said to him, no, we'll go out when it cools down a little bit, right? And then we see what we can try and do. So we were sitting in the power lines. So we've got 3 long power lines that run from the left-hand side all the way through to the right. So it's a nice open area and you can see pretty far. So I'm up and down because now I've got ants in my pants. I really want this lighty to shoot something. And I had gone down to the one power line and I kind of got caught by a group of guinea fowl. I thought it was warthogs walking through the power line, but when I picked up my binos, it was a group of guinea fowl. And as I dropped my binos and I looked back at the lighty, he's standing there waving, and I just saw the arse end of a wildebeest walk across the road. So yeah, it was my stuff up. I couldn't believe that I wasn't there with him. And yeah, I mean, I guess I was just, I made a mistake. I messed up. We stood there for a little while having a chat, and I had said to him, listen, it's been a really hot day. These wildebeest must be there by the water. I said, let's go sneak into the water and see what happens. We snuck up the road, kind of cut into the bush, found ourselves a little tunnel, and yeah, as always with hunting, nothing ever works exactly the way we wanted to, and we got busted. Right, as soon as we got him set up and everything was ready to go, a young wildebeest popped out into the same hole that we were standing in, and yeah, busted us and everything went. And they ran off. Right, so now we've had a miss the previous hunt, right, a miss the second or the first morning. I wasn't there to help him shoot, and now, we've been busted. And I could see the disappointment in his face. I could feel it. We went back down to the power line. We had left a lot of our stuff there, our bags and water bottles and stuff. And as we got to the power line, I saw far down the power line there was a couple impala. So again, we got the wind right, snuck in there, stuck my head out, saw, okay, cool, we're about 200 meters, went back in, 150, and I said to him, I knew of one little spot that we could probably fit through because it's quite thick between the 2 power lines, and then we'll have a good shot. And as I stuck my head out, I got into the hole and everything was good. As I put the sticks out, those impala just scattered, just completely scattered, and they ran off. So I jumped into the power line, right, tried to shift to the second one as quick as what we could, but yeah, unfortunately we were just not quick enough to get ahead of them. And yeah, so now we had been busted twice in a matter of 5 minutes. I turned around and I looked at him and I knew. I could just see it in his eyes that, I was beating on him, right? He was just struggling, and I kept trying to get him to get, and we just kept failing. And I know he was hurting quite a bit. So we decided, no, we're going to walk back. We're going to call it an afternoon. It was probably about 5 o'clock, 5:15 anyway. And on our walk back, true as nuts, those wildebeest popped out in the power lines, and it was on again, right? The wind wasn't right. Everything wasn't right for us, right? But I thought, let's try. Can't win if we don't try. And we snuck into the power line that they weren't in. Hopefully they would feed out in front of us, and everything worked out like an absolute dream. Fed out in front of us. I hit her with the patented meh. She stopped, lifted up her head from feeding, and she was absolutely perfectly broadside. And he shot, and nothing. I said to him, reload. He reloaded the rifle, shot again, nothing. She turned and just walked off, right, like nothing had happened. And the two of us just stood there absolutely stunned, right? We just didn't know what had happened. We didn't know whether it was high, whether it was low, what happened. So I quickly called Tammy. She came and grabbed the truck. We went back to the shooting range, right, make sure the rifle is zeroed. Went off one shot, bang, smacked the gong. Everything was absolutely perfect, and we couldn't believe it. So that night, we had dinner with the guests and whatnot, and I'll never ever forget it. He came up to me and he tapped me on my shoulder and said he was going to bed. And I looked at my watch, and it was like 2 minutes past 7 o'clock. And I said to him, why are you going to bed? He's like, no, he's just tired. And I said, but dinner's going to be ready now. Let's eat something and it'll be good. He said, no, he's really tired, and yeah. And I knew, deep down in my heart, I knew he was hurting. He really was hurting. He didn't know what he did wrong. He didn't know what he's doing wrong, right? And yeah, I really felt bad for him. So the next morning, it was our final morning, and it was one of the funniest things. All of us in the house, right? Myself, Tammy, Mom, Dad, David in his house, we all woke up early that morning before our alarms went off. We were all ready almost 45 minutes before everything else. And I said, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go to the lodge. Let's wake them up, right? It's the last morning we have, right? And let's push a little bit earlier. Let's get to those power lines and hope that those wildebeest or those impala are in there early, right? And we have a good chance here. We got here to the lodge. I was fully expecting to go and knock on doors, right? And like bash people's doors down and pull kids out of beds. And truth nuts, we got here and everybody was awake. Everybody was awake. Everybody had eaten. And I was like, yep, that's the sign, right? That is the one. I said, let's go. We walked out of the lodge here. We walked down the road, checked our first water hole, made sure tracks. We saw 1 or 2 tracks. We weren't 100% committed on them. I said, let's go down to the power lines. That was the original plan. And as we turned the corner, right, there were wildebeest standing in the road. They couldn't have been 250 meters from us, ducked back into the bush, went back across the road because they were feeding, so they were in and out of that road. So we lost sight of them, but we knew that they were coming. We knew that we were going to get our opportunity. Got him set up, and yeah, it literally just was an absolute dream. She walked out absolutely perfect, stood perfectly broadside, and he made an absolutely beautiful shot. She didn't even make 20 yards, right, and was done. And we were back at camp before 6:15, right? And that, for me, the relief on his face. And when I turned around and I told the dad, right, that it was the perfect shot, man, the smile on his face is just something that's just going to be etched in my mind for a long time. That boy's smile was incredible.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. It's such amazing how hard you work for something and you get rewarded in the end. So just persevering and keep going is definitely the way to go.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to the next 2026 season?
Yeah, so right now at the end of the season, we just need to kind of catch up on everything that we've kind of left. We've got a couple of projects that we want to instill. I really want to build another blind, but yeah, that you're going to have to find out as we go through the rest of the year. The 2026 season, everybody's going to sit down and they want the most amazing year. They want a better year than the year before. And obviously we want that. But for 2026, we're really looking forward to seeing the old faces come back, right? A lot of the people, like I said, have already made bookings with us for next year. And yeah, we are incredibly excited to see them again and, to make these memories all over again. That's the amazing thing about hunting, is that you never know what's going to be around the next corner. You never know what's going to happen, right? You never know who you're going to get, the people's lives that you get to touch, that these kids are never going to forget this. Their father is never going to forget this. And to be able to be a part of that is a massive thing for us, especially for us. It's something that we're incredibly passionate about. So yeah, for 2026, I really do hope to have more kids come through. I really do hope to be part of, the future of hunting. And yeah, hopefully it'll be a good year for us.